Welcome to Elevate. I'm Rachel, and this is Nikki.
Hi, Rachel.
We're here to bring you the best insights from local wellness experts, helping you elevate your health, one simple step at a time.
Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for curated wellness tips. You can watch this episode on YouTube or Spotify, or listen on Apple Podcasts at Elevate Wellness.
On this episode of Elevate.
So when a lot of women, like when I used to fast, back in my 30s, it was a good thing because I wasn't in menopause or perimenopause. But now if I did that at 51, my body would not respond well. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it once every blue moon, but I know these people. Now, I fast in the sense of fasting. I eat dinner at 5 and I don't eat anything until the next morning after my workout, because I work out early, but 7:30 is when or quarter to 8 is when I have my food. So I'm going those 14 hours of not eating, but it's overnight. That is the way you should fast. You should never snack after dinner, eat your last meal and be done. So that is the way I do fast. Now, do I do longer fasts? I have. But I will tell you that a few months ago, probably last year, I started doing longer fasts, like 36 hours, and my body was not responding. It was actually holding on to fat because my cortisol was being impacted.
In this episode of Elevate, we welcome Allison Pavone, founder of Living My Best Life Coaching and a certified holistic health coach dedicated to helping women create balance, confidence, and joy through sustainable wellness. After spending 25 years as a paralegal, Allison made a life-changing shift to focus on her own health following the birth of her third child at age 36, a journey that transformed her relationship with food, fitness, and mindset. Now she empowers women to fuel their bodies with intention, move for the right reasons, and cultivate healthy habits that last. In this enlightening conversation, Allison shares her personal transformation and explores topics like gut health, hormonal balance, and vital connection between stress, sleep, and overall wellness. She also explains how food sensitivities, unlike allergies, can show up in surprising ways, and how simple dietary swaps and guided grocery strategies can make healthy eating both accessible and enjoyable. With her holistic approach, Allison reminds listeners that small, consistent actions like meal planning, hydration, and mindful movement build the foundation for lasting health. Her message is clear. When you change your mindset, you change your life. And that's how you truly start living your best life.
Welcome, Allison, to Elevate. We are so excited to have you on today.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be here. I'm glad that I'm on the show and that, we can honestly spread awareness for wellness and, just give people some tips and tricks.
Well, I think you're going to have some good tips today. And so it's a real pleasure to have you join us. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. I love being here. Thank you.
So after 25 years of being a paralegal, you jumped into holistic health coaching. Please connect the dots. What inspired you to make that shift?
After I had my last child, I was 36. And right before I had him, I was a runner. I could say I ran. I don't know that I was a runner, but I started really running, and I lived in North Carolina. So we lived there for 10 years. And right before we left New York, I really started to, I kind of just started with a mile, and then I did 2 miles, and then I was up to like 10 miles. So when I moved to Raleigh, my goal was to do my first 10-mile. So I did in Chapel Hill. Not sure why I chose Chapel Hill because it was completely hilly. I didn't even put the dynamic together. And literally all 10 miles was just hill running. But thankfully in North Carolina, I trained on hill. So it wasn't like I was, going in there not really trained. So I did that. And then I decided I wanted to do a full marathon with half marathon with my girlfriend. We did it together, and we did the rock and roll in downtown Raleigh. Once again, a very hilly race, but I did manage to do that under 2 hours. That was my goal. I guess I just started to really I wanted to focus more on nutrition after I had my son. So I was one of those people where, you can exercise because you're going to work it off. It's okay to eat this because you're going to work it off. I grew up in the 80s. So the 80s was a lot of diet soda. You can eat gummy bears because they're fat free.
Yeah.
They might be fat free, but they got a ton of sugar in them, which makes you fat, right? Unhealthy. I just grew up in that era. My mom, loved her to pieces, but she was just one of those, I mean, honestly, I remember doing Jane Fonda in the living room with her, step class at the Y, always going to Weight Watchers. So honestly, I always had a bad relationship with food. Because I thought if I eat this, it's going to make me fat or if I overeat, well, guess what? I can run it off tomorrow because I run miles. Like, how do you not burn it off? But the one thing I did learn is that you can't work out a bad diet. And it's not that I ate awful. It's just that I didn't nourish my body correctly. And when I say that, I would say like, I would never, I mean, maybe I didn't have protein first in the morning, or I wouldn't eat it all. And then, whatever you eat for lunch, it was like a mismatch. I wasn't getting my calories. I wasn't nourishing my body, right? Honoring my body in a sense, if that makes sense. So, you're a mom, you pick off your kid's plate. You're like, I don't have to eat dinner tonight. I'll just eat this, so there was never really any nourishment. I always had that really bad mentality. So after I had my last son, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to look into some sort of nutrition, certification. So I came across Health Coach Institute, which is where I went, which is a phenomenal program. We had all the leaders for functional medicine, Dr. Hyman, we had JJ Virgin, we had Dr. Christensen. I mean, Isabella Wentz, who talks about Hashimoto's. I mean, we had a lot of really good mentors in the program. And not only did I learn about coaching and just how to honor your body, because before the program, I thought, what is this going to tell me? Like, I don't know. Like, is it going to show me how to lose weight? I was completely like oblivious to what it was going to say. And when I started the program, there's so many ahas for me. So I did it really to educate myself, not really thinking that I was going to have such a passion to help other women, because I know as a mom, we're always on the go, we're moving. When I became a health coach, it was not even like, I wouldn't say it wasn't a thing. It was very minimal. Nobody knew what a health coach was. And it was just becoming, the up and coming thing, which I think it still is, even though I think it's definitely more relevant now. I feel like it still hasn't boomed yet. So when I was a paralegal for 25 years, yes, but it's just a very monotonous job. I felt like I was a human doing, not a human being. I was up at 5 a.m. working out. I worked downtown Raleigh for 10 years for a senior partner, just rushing in, working 7 to 3, rushing home, getting my son from school. When I had 2 older kids, they took the bus home or whatever. But it was definitely like, not something I wanted to continue. While the salary was great, we had benefits, it just, I told my husband, I don't want to do this anymore, really, So when I went through health coaching, I did it. It's a 1-year program, and I did it in 6 months online because I was so intrigued by it. And I literally, every day I go home from work, I'd be on the computer just going through the studies, listening to the doctors, and, getting my work done so I can be graduated and be done, So I did coach part-time as I was working, just to kind of, which I think when you first start is the hardest part, because as a health coach, you just want to give information. And that's not how coaching works. It's kind of like, so I've learned a lot in almost 9 years, but it's basically about creating that space for people to, embrace what they're doing and to learn. Now, while when I coach, a lot of stuff is very informative, but I also create that space for them to kind of find their own way and really become intuitive to their body and their mind and what they're doing. But that's how I became a health coach. And then I just started helping others. And now I'm so dug into functional medicine and just helping my family and others. And that's basically how I became a coach and how I started.
Quite the story. It's very relatable, Allison, as you were speaking, and you talked about growing up in the 80s and eating things that were low fat or whatever, or diet foods.
Mm-hmm.
We really didn't know then. We thought we were doing the right thing by having a Snackwell cookie because it was supposed to, those things were so good. So just remember them. Like, I would think I would eat one now knowing that it still has all the junk in it, but it was so good. But because it was fat free and all the things. So I think as a health coach, not only is the challenge of just sharing the information, it's changing a mindset because things become ingrained in our minds as to how we perceive things. And that takes time, which is, I'm sure, a challenge because now you've got the information, you know it, you're implementing it. And the rest of us are going, yeah, but if I wait, if I fast and I don't eat, and then, if I just get to 12, I'm going to burn all that off and I'll be good because that's what's still in my mind. So there's a lot to being a coach and just giving information, but helping people like me change my mindset too, because things are so ingrained into how we've done them and thought about them for so long.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, I think, as a coach. But for one, I have learned that, honestly, when people come to me and they want to coach, I do a little intake sheet that tells me a little bit of background about their lifestyle, if they meditate, if they exercise, what they eat every day, so it's a nine question questionnaire. And when they send it back, I set up like a little free discovery call to kind of see if they're a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for them, because quite frankly, I have turned people away in the sense that I just knew their heart wasn't there. And it was going to be really hard for me to kind of flip the switch for them. They have to be ready, eager, willing to want to have those shifts. So when somebody comes to me that's open-minded, I love it. Like I have two clients now that are amazing because they're just like taking it all in and they're listening to everything that I, say, and the coaching, and they're, after every session, I'll give action steps. So they have to perform these habits, so it compacts on top of each other, so they have to upgrade their system is basically it. And the old system doesn't work anymore. So there is, tips and tactics, but the one thing is that I focus on more than anything as a coach is I tell them, let's not focus on your weight, because that is the first thing that people say to me is like, I want to lose 40 pounds. And, I go through this whole thing with them. I'm like, well, what does losing 40 pounds do for you? They don't think of the longevity of it first. I just want to lose 40 pounds. Like I have to fit in a dress. Okay. We're going to fit in that dress, but this is always a marathon. It's not a sprint. These things take time. And then they start to get it. I'm like, we're just going to focus on your health. Like what's important about your health? What is your why? We connect that, a lot of anchors we connect. So when they take this program, usually by the fourth week, they're like, wow, like I've switched so much. And I approach them with baby steps because it's super important not to overwhelm people. I mean, you can't have someone come to you that hasn't, walked, or they haven't, eaten 100 grams of protein a day like they're supposed to, like things like that. So I work on increments of improving them 1% better. I check in with them every week. It's a very handheld kind of program that I do for 12 weeks, but when they get it, they get it. And I'm like, it is
The light bulb goes off.
yeah, it's so amazing. I'm like, they got it, so it's very rewarding, it is. And while at times it could be frustrating, it's very rewarding at the end.
Allison, I do want to take a minute too, because we are cohorts of a different years with cohorts with Health Coach Institute. It is truly an incredible program that is very, very different than what I think the majority of people assume coaching is. I had discovered a large misconception, and I'm curious to know if you found the same thing, where people think in general that health coaches tell you what to do. They put you on a specific diet. And in some places, I think the misconception arises because there are programs out there that say this is the way to lose weight. This is the way to gain strength. Whatever it is, your end all goal, we have a specific protocol already built for you, versus we're going to meet you where you are and create a very organic journey to fit into your best protocol and create one with you. Have you discovered that same obstacle or misconception that you've had to clarify for people?
Yes. Definitely. They think that you're just going to get, you just give me a menu and I can eat this. And the thing about coaching is, most people that come have a chronic disease of some sort. So to understand in terms of a diet, which I don't really typically use the word diet ever, but in terms of a diet in the sense that what people do for themselves is like, there's a different approach for everyone that comes to me. And that's what I want people to understand, because I can have somebody that comes to me with diabetes. Well, they're going to be under 50 carbs. I'm going to have them on more of a fat diet, meaning healthy fats, protein, getting them to walk, definitely to start there to help with their insulin and blood sugar. There's just so many different approaches that I can take with them, as opposed to maybe a woman that came to me and she's having, hormonal, imbalances. And she's like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but, I can't, her estrogen is off. So we're going to work on different foods that support that. So, yes, health coaches definitely do not just give you a diet and a plan in that sense. I let them figure out what works for them with my guidance. So, like I said, if they have an autoimmune disease, people don't know that if you eat 2 Brazil nuts that, you get the selenium for the day. It's like a supplement. Well, you don't have to take selenium. You can literally just eat 2 Brazil nuts a day to get the selenium to support your adrenals and your thyroid. So it's things like this that we give them tips, and it's kind of amazing, because people are like, wow, I didn't even know that, but it's more, coaching is for them to create that space to become intuitive to what their body needs. I tell everybody, your body talks to you. There's a reason why you're having symptoms. Something is going on internally. And we can fix that by doing X, Y, Z, and by me helping you and coaching you to create that space to figure it out.
Is there a common theme among the people that contact you? I feel like, is there just always a common theme of, hi, I need help because of this, or I feel this? What do you see the most of?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a coach, there's always you should always have a niche, because there are so many things that you can cover. I mean, from, children. I mean, you could be a coach for children with celiacs, to women with hormones, to autoimmune disease. So my niche is basically restoring gut health and hormonal imbalance, or women that are in their 40s or late 30s, in perimenopause and menopause. That's what I love to do, because I love to empower that woman to understand, like, this is not the way you're supposed to feel, and you don't have to feel this way. So giving them those little things that help support the hormones, that women just like, I'll give you an example. One of my clients that I coached last year, she's amazing. I love her. And I hate when my time is out with them, because I miss them, but I still keep in touch with them. But Robin, if she's listening to this, she's amazing. She was in menopause and she could not lose weight for the life of her. And she was just like, I just can't get out of my own space. I'm eating all the stuff. So long story short, we did an elimination diet with her first, which is usually what I do with people. And then they jump into my 12-week program. We cut out all the dairy, because dairy affects your hormones, just because there's hormones in dairy. So it's a big thing that we take out that decreases inflammation. So we took out the Greek yogurt, which she was not having, and she didn't eat it for quite some time, until I would say the last 2-3 weeks we were together, and her hot flashes went away. She didn't have any more hot flashes. She's like, this is amazing. I feel great. She had energy. So she said, I'm going to incorporate the Greek yogurt back. And I said, well, Robin, that's up to you. You see how your body responds. So this is how we become intuitive with our bodies. So she did incorporate it back, and she texts me and she's like, I'm getting hot flashes again. It was like a week or 10 days into it. And I was like, well, you now know your body does not tolerate that at the moment. So she did take it out again. But it's so crazy. These are the things that are such ahas for people, and they're like, wow. I mean, a healthy food can actually impact your body, for whatever reason it is. So it's things like that that I really find intriguing about functional medicine, and that I love myself, that if I can help women in that scenario, they don't even know how to do that or how to eliminate certain things and bring them back in.
Yeah. Wow.
So do you suggest for women that are perimenopause to remove dairy from their diet?
I do, for a little bit. Yeah. Just to see how their body responds. Yeah. I mean, I don't do dairy personally. It's when I eat Greek yogurt, it makes me very tired. So crazy. Because I'm a health coach, I kind of pay attention to things like that. But dairy is one of the products that do cause inflammation in the body and the gut. Now, if they're having a hard time losing weight, I'm not saying they have to stay away from it forever, but let's figure it out and see, oh, if I take it out, maybe that'll help me get a jump start into losing weight. And if they do bring it back, well, now they can see if it's affecting them. It could be affecting their sleep. It could be affecting their brain fog. It could be affecting their gut, and then, like I have a sensitivity to this or it's affecting me in some way. I have to cut it out.
Let's take a moment to thank one of our local wellness experts and proud sponsors of Elevate, Brain Performance Training. After more than 20 years as a registered nurse, Laurie Sampolo saw firsthand how addiction, anxiety, and PTSD affect families, including her own. Her hope and desire is to offer neurotherapy as a holistic approach to support people struggling with these and many other mental health symptoms. She's seen so many patients without the tools to manage their symptoms, but she's also witnessed countless lives change for the better through neurotherapy. At Brain Performance Training, the mission is simple: to remove the stigma around mental health so no one hesitates to reach out for help, whether it's from Laurie or another trusted professional, because healing starts when we reach out for support. Mention Elevate and receive 10% off a treatment package, which includes before and after EEG and 15 treatments. Contact Brain Performance Training at gmail.com or call 843-655-3325 to learn more.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And you can just have a slight sensitivity to something, not necessarily be allergic. And
Exactly.
I think that's a lot of people, maybe dive into that a little bit more. I don't think we've actually talked about sensitivity to something versus I'm all out allergic and how you can deal with either of the issues.
Yeah. So basically, I have actually 2 kids with a peanut allergy, and my one son has celiac that has a nut allergy as well. So if you have an allergy to something, you would eat it and you can either break out in hives, you can have, a stuffy nose, runny nose, or you can even have anaphylactic, like an anaphylactic shock, right? Where you stop breathing. Yeah. So that would be an allergic reaction. Something that you're sensitive to, either you can be bloated, you can have the opposite. You can either be constipated or have diarrhea. You can break out and have acne. For a lot of children, if I do coach, a mom and she's like, my daughter has all this acne. I tell them to take the dairy out. That is the number one thing that causes it. Because it affects the gut lining of our stomach, it causes a lot of things to get eczema, rashes. So that is more of a sensitivity than an allergic reaction. Now, you won't stop breathing. It's not life or death. But these are the things to pay attention to, because if we eat something, it shouldn't make us bloated. It shouldn't make us gassy. It shouldn't, have diarrhea or constipation. Then your body's responding in a way that is not working on a cellular level, and it's saying something's going on, So that is the difference between an allergic reaction and sensitivity. Now, my son has celiac, which is way more than a sensitivity. That is an autoimmune disease that he needs to not eat gluten at all, ever, because it become more severe down the road if he did. Mm-hmm. But people can have a sensitivity to gluten and not necessarily have celiac. So it's very different, and that's what people don't understand. So if you ever think you have celiac, you need to you can get a biopsy of the intestine, or they take a different blood culture than they would for just, a regular sensitivity. But some people I know, like, also you can have a sensitivity, you get migraines. Gluten is the number one thing that causes migraines. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy, because when people say to me, I have migraine, like I've had migraines really bad, first thing we cut out. Like, I'm like, okay, let's cut out the gluten. But when they do this elimination diet, it's basically the 5 foods that cause inflammation, which is sugar, soy, corn, gluten, and dairy, and sometimes eggs. But we don't normally take out eggs yet. I take those out first. And eggs is a great source of protein, and most of the time
Yeah.
it's not that. But those are the five things that I eliminate, automatically.
Which is so hard because all of those things are in so many things that we eat, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be really attentive to what you're doing and intentional.
Yes, you do. Most for sure. Definitely.
That leads me right to my curiosity, Allison. For those that are thinking about maybe eliminating those five things or eliminating one of those five things, let's just
Mhm.
say dairy, for example, to see how they respond, if they feel better, their skin, their
Mhm.
complexion is better, less bloating, what have you. What do you say to an individual that says, I love my milk? I put milk in my coffee, I drink a glass of milk with dinner, I cook with it, and I don't know what a healthy alternative would be because there's just so many things out there today. How do you direct them to something that's comparable for dairy, maybe? And maybe we can walk through a couple of alternatives because I know that it can be overwhelming to
Exactly.
try to change how you're eating. If you're going, okay, I can't have gluten, well, then you have individuals that try not to eat anything remotely close where they know that they're going to have gluten, and then
Right.
they end up feeling deprived and it doesn't last long. So,
Exactly.
how would you support an individual like that?
So I'm the swap out queen, and I have swap outs for everything.
I
I'm going to
love
take
that.
notes.
I know. I'm writing this down. What we're
I will
swapping.
I also, it's great. I have a family program where I actually take them to the supermarket and we go through the aisle so I can show them ingredients.
Let's talk about that after you talk about the
Yeah,
swap
yeah,
outs because we're
Yes.
interested in that.
yeah. But the swap outs, for instance, so this is what I usually start with. I say to them, okay, so if we're not going to do dairy, we can do two of one things. We can look at goat's milk, which has A2 casing instead of A1 casing. So A2
Mm.
casing doesn't have the hormones that A1 does. So it's better digestion and it feels better on the gut, but it also doesn't have sometimes that response of the inflammatory response. So I usually tell people to look for goat's milk. There's also a milk in Publix that I've seen, and it says A2 on there. So the hormones from the cows, obviously the cows are cleaner and there's no hormones in that, is what I'm assuming. Now, it looked clean. I actually bought it the other day, but goat's milk or that is a really good option to swap out. Tastes just like dairy. I mean, it is dairy. It's just not the A1 casing. The other option is we look at plant-based milks. But with plant-based milks, there has to be the ingredient wise three ingredients. So if you're going to do, say, coconut milk, now obviously it's a little different than dairy, like a dairy, but personally, I love coconut milk. It tastes really good. So I tell people you need to just try it and see if you like it. So the coconut milk has to be coconuts, water, salt. If it's almond milk, almonds, water, salt. There should not be any other ingredient. And I tell people all the time with plant-based milks, there's things in it like xanthan gum or guar gum or carrageenan. So what these are additives to thicken that product. Why they put this in, I don't know. Like, quite honestly, if we can do without it in other brands, why can't we do without it in all the brands? So xanthan gum and carrageenan are really bad things that over time, if you drink enough of it, can cause gut dysbiosis or leaky gut, which I'm sure you've all heard of, right? But that's basically when the intestinal lining or the gut is not working at optimal because something, foreign object, is attacking your gut. It doesn't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, I'll go through with them and show them, the brands to look for and the milks to get. So that would be my option in terms of dairy. The same thing goes for yogurt. If they're looking at a yogurt, if there's not a yogurt made with A2 casing or goat's milk, we can also look for the option of coconut yogurt or some sort of yogurt that's made with a plant base. Now you got to be careful because the same thing can apply in terms of guar gum, carrageenan. So like I just had one for my client the other day. It's called Coco June. It's so cute. It's a little cute packaging. Now I would recommend them to just get the plain, which because it only had 2 grams of sugar. That is
Yeah.
the other thing that in yogurt you need to look for, because it'll have like sugar and then added sugar. And added sugar can be so much. Like if something has 8 grams of sugar, added sugar can be another 10 grams. Now people don't understand they're eating like 18 grams of sugar. That means in like half a cup of yogurt, and for women, we really should only be getting 30 grams of sugar a day. And for men, it's 50. So you really got to pay attention to stuff like that in terms of the labeling and really what's on there. Because a lot of people look at protein, fats, and carbs, and I'm like, no, just look at the ingredients and what's in it is the important factor. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to have a half a cup of that, you're going to have a half a cup, and that's the calories. And at least you're eating something that's going to be good for you and not destroy your gut health. So that's what I would do for dairy.
I love that too. Just simplify it. That's
Yes.
where I have gone to is I don't even look at the carbs and the sugars. I look at the ingredients. So you said xanthium gum, another type of gum.
Xanthan gum. Yeah, xanthium gum, guar gum, like GUAR gum, or carrageenan.
That's in a lot of things. Or
Yes.
carrageenan. And so be careful when you go to the milk cooler and you get a plant-based almond milk or coconut milk. Look on your ingredients because those can contribute to leaky gut and all the other things.
Exactly.
Well, they just sound horrible in the first place. Why would we even want it? It just sounds bad.
Yeah, I don't even know why they put it in there. It's crazy. So Califa, CALIFA. I don't know if you ever heard of that brand.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one I get. But there's two now. There's Khalifa and then there's Khalifa Organics. So when the company first released these plant-based milks, the Khalifa, the original one, has gums in it, and they still have it out. The Khalifa Organics doesn't have gum in it. So I'm not sure if they're maybe going to do away with the other one at some point. Maybe they just like process a lot of them and like they have them in the warehouse. I don't know, but Khalifa Organics literally has 3 ingredients, and the Khalifa regular has the gums in it. So when I tell people to get that, I'm like, you need to get the organics one, and it's probably like $1 more. It is. And I understand that, but people will be like, oh, it's because it's like $6.59 for a thing. But the good thing is they put them on sale on Publix, like every couple weeks, buy one, get one, which when it's like that, I load up. I'm like, I'm getting 2 for 1. This is amazing. Cause then you're only paying like $3 and change for each. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's another one called
Do you
Elmhurst.
freeze it?
No, I don't freeze it, but they, believe it or not, I go through it so fast in my house. So we make our protein shakes with it. I make mashed potatoes with it because my son they don't do dairy. We use it a lot. We use it in our coffee, so it goes really fast in my house. But they're dated
What was
pretty.
the other one?
Elmhurst is the other one. ELMHURST. It's Elmhurst. And that's another one that I always recommend to people that they can also get.
It's good. So tell us how you go shopping with your clients. And that would be so helpful to actually have Allison's with me now. I got this is what I would be thinking. I'm going to make all the right decisions today and remember it where it is on the shelf,
Yeah. So I kind of meet them at the supermarket. I have 2 sheets for them. I give them the Dirty Dozen list, which is through, the Environmental Working Group, which is a website everybody can go on and basically see products, the Dirty Dozen, which products don't have toxins in them for cleaners and face stuff and cookware and food. They'll tell you how much, glyphosate is in a certain product if it's on the shelf. So I give them that Dirty Dozen list so they know what has to be organic and what does not have to be organic, which I think is important because it saves people money, while they're buying organic avocados. Well, an avocado doesn't need to be organic, So I give them that, and I give them also a sheet. There's which through Health Coach Institute, they supply us with all kinds of resources for our people, which is amazing. So it's a sheet through there. There's probably about 50 names of sugars that people don't even know what it is. So if you look at something on a shelf, it'll say it could be, dextrose, sucralose, maltodextrin. All the names of sugars. So high fructose corn syrup. So I give them this list so they have it to go by. So when they do the thing with me, I hand them that. And then we literally go through, we start at the produce section. We go through the dirty dozen, I walk them through. And then we do go down the aisles and I ask them, like, what do you guys eat? Like, what is something your family eats? Tell me. So that way I can give you a swap out for it. So I'm not wasting my time. So whether it's like taco shells, so I'll give them a swap out for the taco shells, if it's wraps, I'll give them a swap out for the wraps. Deli meat, awful. The worst thing you can eat, as there's so many nitrates in it and just really bad ingredients. I give them the swap out for that. We walk and like Applegate is a really good alternative. That's what my kids eat.
Yeah.
Bacon, milks. So we go down pretty much every aisle, but we look at the ingredients and I show them what to look for. The less ingredients on a label, the better. Because that means if you're reading something that has like 15 things in it and you can't pronounce them, you shouldn't eat them. Like, these things are literally being made in a lab, so we shouldn't eat them if that's the case. Potato chips, popcorn, that's another big one. So I give them all swap outs on that. If their kids eat Doritos, I give them a swap out for that, the company that, so while there might not be some things that they can swap out, for the most part of the majority, they can. So they love it because then their kids are eating healthier, and we kind of go through the thing also in sense of a meal prep. So I also give my clients a lot of recipes. So if I say to them, what are 3 things you really like, so how to meal prep, how to make those 3 meals for the week or whatever, so you can kind of rotate them or make it easy for them so they can come home and they're like, okay, I have vegetables here, I have grilled chicken here, I have lettuce here, where I can make, just to be more creative with their meals and kind of figure that out. But we also, it's eye-opening when they go through the store and I'm like, if you ever notice, the perimeter of the supermarket is all your whole foods, right? There's your milks and your yogurts and your cheeses, and then there's your meats and all your produce. So I'm like, what's in the middle of the store? And I'm like, those are food-like products, and while we need maybe a food-like product, I also go through them with rice, meaning like, what's the best rice to get? Because a lot of rice has arsenic in it. A lot of snacks have glyphosate in them, like Cheez-Its have a ton of glyphosate in them. Bonza pasta that everyone thinks is great has 219 parts per billion of glyphosate in it. And when you cook it, it doesn't come out. So like, people are eating swarms of glyphosate. Now we know why there's a rise to cancer and all these diseases and autoimmune disease, because our guts can't handle stuff like, years ago when we grew up, we didn't have any of that on our food, So it's a really good thing that I do with them. I love doing it with people because, I just love helping people and going to the store, and it's a lot of fun. They bring the kids and the kids are like, oh my God, I can try this, So I've done seminars like that before, where I just kind of bring all the swap outs, to like schools. I did it at Ocean Bay Elementary. Everyone was like, oh, this is great. So it's very eye-opening for people, and it's a lot of fun. So that's what the supermarket thing is.
It just makes it possible. You show them that there are options that are tangible, simple, and they're not sacrificing something that they love, and it's going to give them good, wholesome benefits. Can we back up for a second? Because I'm not sure, for those that aren't familiar with what glyphosate is and why it's important to avoid glyphosate and how to do that.
Okay. So glyphosate is a Roundup weed killer that they spray on a lot of crops, especially wheat. So because they're overly and heavily sprayed, they're sprayed on beans, they're sprayed on wheat, they're sprayed on our crops. This is why it's important to kind of look for the organic fruits when it's important, and vegetables. But it plays a big role into our health. I'm not really sure why they do this. I don't know if I guess it maintains the crops better from spoiling. However, it is very highly sprayed on our crops, on our wheat, on our corn, and it's affecting people's health. It's toxic, and it does cause cancer. So you have to be careful if, you're eating bonza pasta every night, or you're eating certain things like, here's the thing. Corn is in every chip almost, right? Yeah.
So I was thinking that when you said corn, I'm thinking it's in it.
Right. So like people that are getting Doritos for their kids and Cheez-Its and Goldfish, they have wheat in them. They have corn in these things, corn chips like Fritos, all these things. So you can literally go on that environmental working group and you can print out this list. I have the list. It's in Heinz ketchup. It's in Oreo cookies. I think it's in almost
All
every
the things
single.
that people love.
Yeah, it's in all those food-like products. So not only are we getting the bad ingredients, but now we're getting the Roundup weed killer on top of it. And this is why, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, I've never heard of so much autoimmune disease in my life, honestly, truthfully. But these are the things that affect our gut, which puts our body under stress. And then all these people, and I'm not just saying it's that, it's environmental toxins, it's everyday living, it's the stress that we have from everyday, children working on the go. Our bodies go into that fight or flight. And, what happens in return is we end up with an autoimmune disease, or, we just get this chronic disease, or we end up with bad gut health. So stress is the next to the food is the other thing. And no one sleeps anymore.
Right.
So that's another problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk a lot about sleep and the lack of, with our different guests. It's
Yes.
such an issue.
It is really important. It is probably the number one thing next to nutrition that you need to do. Number one thing.
Well, and then there's the link between poor gut health, which you're addressing by helping people make these swaps and increasing awareness of the ingredients. But there's a connection between poor gut health and mental health, stress, anxiety, and it's this horrible hamster wheel we end up being on.
It is, yes. And gut is related to your brain and vice versa. So when these women come to me and they're like, oh my God, I have the worst foggy brain, but I don't sleep well and my job is so stressful, and they're eating muffins for breakfast. Well, we just have that forest fire and they just can't put it out, and it's not going to go away.
So when she says, that's how I feel, and I eat a muffin, what do you say immediately? Let's eat this rather than that. Because that's a perfect example of a swap out that's needed with a muffin.
Yes. So,
and why a muffin is bad? Because, a blueberry muffin seems so glorious.
Korean muffin.
And it's some fruit in it.
I said all the fiber.
Right.
So, So when I get, we work on that as a coach, that's why I get that intake sheet, because I'm like, I know exactly what I need to help them with when I get that back. I'm like, okay, they're eating a muffin. I get a lot of women too that don't eat breakfast at all, which is a big problem, especially during hormonal shifts. But when they say that to me, I'm like, okay, well, I said the most important thing to get in the morning is protein, and here is why. So first, I tell them when you're eating a muffin, there's really no nutrient-dense ingredients in that. So when they're consuming that, I ask them all the time, well, let me ask you, after you eat the muffin in the morning, you have your coffee, about how long after you're hungry? And they're like, I don't know, like 2.5 hours, I start to get hungry. And I'm like, okay, why do you think that is? And they're like, well, I don't know, and I'm like, because you're literally eating a bowl of sugar in the morning, which is hitting your insulin, and your insulin to the brain is reacting in a sense that you were full, but now the sugar has nowhere to go. So now it creates that ghrelin hunger hormone to be hungrier.
Hey guys, what if the key to feeling better wasn't in a new trend, but in understanding your body's natural rhythm? And there was an ancient system that could help you balance digestion, energy, and mood naturally. Kerry from the Holistic Highway is a global leader in integrative medicine and Ayurveda who's redefining what true health looks like, and she's right here in Myrtle Beach. Kerry believes healing begins with understanding you. Her personalized system blends nutrition, lifestyle, and genetics to help you find harmony in both body and mind, because real wellness is never one size fits all. The Holistic Highway provides a personalized system to manage chronic disorders by incorporating fundamental changes in diet, behavior, and stress while focusing on genetics. This individualized program is so successful that many of her clients have achieved maximum healing and vitality after years of chronic problems. It's time to feel more balanced, friends, more vibrant, and more you. As a special gift for Elevate listeners, enjoy a complimentary 30-minute Ayurvedic consultation to learn your unique mind, body type, and one easy step toward a balanced life. Just mention Elevate when you book through the show note.
Elevate is all about connecting you with the best local wellness experts, and we couldn't do it without our amazing sponsors like Laser Lab. If you've been curious about red light therapy, this is your sign to finally give it a try. Laser Lab helps your body do what it's naturally designed to do: heal, restore, and recover using the power of light. Whether you're dealing with inflammation, slow recovery, chronic pain, or just low energy, red light therapy supports your body from the inside out. And here's the best part. For our Elevate listeners only, Laser Lab is offering an Experience the Light consultation. Your first session is free when you mention Elevate or use the code PODLIGHT at booking. Visit laserlab.com/podcast or stop by Laser Lab in person and tell them you heard about them on Elevate. Your body will thank you.
So they're like, wow, I never really thought about that. So I'll ask them, like, do you like eggs? Or, would you be open to, a protein powder? Because I have a really good protein powder that I give all my clients, because once again, protein can be very toxic and molds. Same with coffee. So I give them, a protein powder. I'm an affiliate for one company. So I'm like, here, order this. And I'm like, you can make a great smoothie with chia seeds. You're going to support your hormones that way, and put in some berries, and you could put in hemp seeds, all the things that are high in magnesium, potassium, fiber that are going to support your gut health, but also support your brain health. So it's things like this that people don't understand by fueling their body. And I mean, I have one client now, she's like, that shake I make is delicious. She loves it. I'm like, see, so people truly don't understand. The other thing is, I explain to them, like, what does protein do for you? It's the most satisfying nutrient. Once again, this is why I tell them to focus on their health, not their weight. So for your health, how are you supporting your hormones, your bone health, your muscle health? By getting the quality of protein. Well, we have to do like 30 to 40 grams per meal. So let's figure out how we can do that together. So it's not really, that's what I'm saying about coaching. It's not really giving them this information. I get curious around it, and I think, well, would you try this? It's always a would you, when could you, it's never, hey, you need to do this, because that's not what people want. That's not what they want to hear, So we work on that, and then they're like, wow, like, I love the shake in the morning, or they find a new way of implementing breakfast. And with my recipes, like egg bites and things like that, I make it so it's attainable for them, but also it's reachable and easy. They don't want to sit here and, God, I got to prep this. It's so much easier when it's at their fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Meal prepping is really important, and we work on it together in baby steps. I mean, it's a process, trust me, but they get there and they do it, they get there and they do it. You just have to, give them that little encouragement, as a coach. Empathizing and sympathizing with them is super important.
Yeah, that's good. And so when she doesn't eat the muffin anymore and she eats something different, does she tell you, feel better, or change has happened? Like, what would be the example of how you would feel better, after making that switch?
Yeah. So what I do is I have them journal their energy. Usually they always journal just how they're feeling, their mood, their sleep, because I want them to really start to become intuitive to their bodies. So, I would ask her, how did you sleep? When you ate a muffin in the morning, pizza at night, and in the afternoon, you had like a fried something, just to give an example. And she's like, well, yeah, I don't sleep good, and I feel terrible. So as we go and they record, she'll start eating the protein in the morning. And one of my sessions is actually focusing on what foods give you energy and what foods take it away. So when we dive into that, I'm like, what foods can you tell me have given you energy? And they're like, oh my God, the shake is amazing. Or the eggs and the avocado make me feel so good and satisfied. The idea for them to understand is we really shouldn't be eating any more. Like, we should be eating every 4 to 5 hours. If we can't sustain that, then something's going on with your blood sugar, 1000%. your body is not becoming sensitive to insulin. It's just because of the fact that you're eating constantly sugar. So I think that really, they start to become like intuitive to their bodies by the journaling and by switching up the certain foods. They're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I feel great because I'm doing this. And that's where the habits come in, that switch, because they don't want to feel like that anymore, like they used to.
Can you speak to the importance of eating breakfast? Because I believe that we go through different seasons. Sometimes some of us are stuck in the season of I'm not hungry. So how do we eat breakfast when we just don't have an appetite for breakfast? Or
I never have an appetite for breakfast.
Can you expand on that for us, Allison? We don't have an appetite for breakfast. Let's start there. What does that mean?
Okay, so a lot of times when you don't have an appetite at breakfast, that usually means that, to be honest, your cortisol is not working correctly. We should honestly be hungry within 1 hour of waking up. The importance of eating breakfast, especially in the time of your hormone shifts, perimenopause and menopause, is that one, our cortisol is already hijacked. And what I mean by that is it's already elevated in the sense that it's compromised because our estrogen is decreasing, our progesterone is decreasing, our testosterone is decreasing. From 35 till the time you're in menopause, your body declines in hormones, as you go. And by the time you hit menopause, usually you don't have much left. So because your estrogen is not working correctly, it throws off all the other hormones. Now, being that our cortisol is our stress hormone, we don't want to stress it out anymore. So when a lot of women, like when I used to fast, back in my 30s, it was a good thing because I wasn't in menopause or perimenopause. But now if I did that at 51, my body would not respond well. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it once every blue moon, but I know these people. Now, I fast in the sense of fasting. I eat dinner at 5 and I don't eat anything until the next morning after my workout, because I work out early, but 7:30 is or 7:45 is when I have my food. So I'm going those 14 hours of not eating, but it's overnight. That is the way you should fast. You should never snack after dinner, eat your last meal and be done. So that is the way I do fast. Now, do I do longer fasts? I have, but I will tell you that a few months ago, probably last year, I started doing longer fasts, like 36 hours, and my body was not responding. It was actually holding on to fat because my cortisol was being impacted. It was like, this isn't working. When you go through hormonal shifts, your body is looking for those carbohydrates. It wants the protein. It wants the fat. And I don't mean carbohydrates like pasta and bread. I mean like a good carbohydrate, your good dense vegetables, your fruit, and sweet potatoes or quinoa. Those are the things that we really should eat. And when I get these women too that say, God, I'm in menopause, because I know that feeling, I'm just going to stay away from carbs. I'm not eating any carbs. And it is the worst thing you can do, because I don't know if you ever notice when women, or for yourself, when you get your cycle, I don't have mine anymore, thank God. But when you do get your cycle, you ever notice before you're going to get it, you crave those carbohydrates, right? Everyone craves the carbohydrates. Yeah. That is because your progesterone increases, your estrogen decreases, and your progesterone is that nurture hormone, right? It's the hormone that helps us sleep. It's the hormone that wants the carbohydrates. So I tell women all the time, when you have your cycle, your carbohydrates, like your body is telling you something, and the same thing when you're in menopause is that your body needs those carbohydrates. Now, I don't eat 500 carbs, 400 carbs. I try to get at least 100 carbohydrates a day. Sometimes I get in 70 or 80, but I eat carbohydrates. But I eat it on a healthy version in a portion control. So, things like this are super important, and it's important to eat breakfast because cortisol is that hormone that is your stress hormone. And it doesn't like when we don't eat, especially in this transition. So if somebody said to me, I really don't eat breakfast, I'll say, okay, let's work on this. Let's see if we can implement, even though you're not hungry, let's start maybe implementing a shake where it's easier to get down. I'm not a big advocate. Like, I love protein shakes, and I'm not saying they should always go to that. Like, Whole Foods is best. But I am an advocate when they're in a rush or they only have a certain time in the morning. You can really put a lot of nutrients into that shake and make it nutrient dense to help your body and support your body with so many good things, including healthy fats, omega 3s, antioxidants between the berries and the fruit, fiber, you can put an insoluble fiber in there, which I do all the time to support the gut. I put in my collagen, I put in my protein powder. I mean, I have a packed protein shake of like 40 grams of protein in the morning. Like I had that at 8:30 to 8 o'clock. I'm still not even hungry. It's 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense
It
though.
sounds like if you are eating a well balanced, nutritious meal, skipping that snack after dinner, which I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you help them with, because that would be a progressive change. It could be a little difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It will support your sleep, support your cortisol, and then you'll wake up with an appetite to start your day. Is that right?
That is correct. Exactly. And the other thing is, remember this, the more protein they're getting during the day, the less likely they're
Yeah.
going to become that hangry. And here's the other thing is when a lot of women miss breakfast, by 12 o'clock, they are starving or whatever time they have lunch. But we can't possibly be in a portion control because now they haven't eaten in 20 hours and they're famished. So I feel like a lot of people overeat when they do that because, especially when you're at that hangry point, and now how do you get in the adequate amount of protein for as a female to support your bone mass and your muscle mass? It's kind of hard. I know people that do it that have done 2 meals, but then you might want to eat, a steak for lunch where you're getting the leucine and the really good amino acid and maybe getting that, 40 grams of protein in one meal. Because if not, chicken's not going to do it for you. You'd have to eat a lot of chicken. Well, I'm saying 4 ounces is maybe 20 grams. You probably have to eat 2 pieces. So I feel like sometimes it also helps them balance their blood sugar, balance your cortisol, your ghrelin. It balances your hormones.
Yeah. It's challenging. I am not a breakfast eater and I never have been, but I have started putting protein in my coffee because that was my hack.
Yeah.
Because I just was not hungry and I've never been that way, but I know that it's needed. So that was my alternative. Was that a good decision?
Yeah, I actually put
Okay.
protein in my coffee in the morning.
Okay.
I put a half a scoop and I have my shake. So I'm getting a lot of protein in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always put it in my coffee. It's great. And, people are like, oh, I use sugar. And I'm like, well, try the protein powder. Obviously.
You won't need it.
Yeah, you don't need it at all. It gives it such good flavor. It's
It
amazing. I
does.
use my little,
Yeah. The whisk.
the whisk, and it's great. Yeah, it's great.
I think too it is a testament to how you meet people where they are. So, if you're not eating breakfast, you're having a cup of coffee, you may make that suggestion of, hey, let's put some protein. Let's just see how we can add some protein into your diet or the way in which you're eating right now, and slowly, progressively make those baby steps rather than a huge overhaul, all the swaps, all the things.
Yeah, it's too much.
Too much at once.
It's too much. It overwhelms people. Yeah, that's why, I always ask them what their biggest challenge is. So I can work with them throughout the 12 weeks, and if we clarify that and they're better and then they're like, okay, I'm having a challenge with this now, we work on that. I think it's important, like you said, to meet them where they are, but really, I've been doing this for years. Like it's second nature to me, and I tell them all the time, like, I didn't do this overnight. Like I'm still, as a coach for myself, just the things that I coach people, I still work on, like slowing down while I eat, just taking that breath in between, all those things, I work on myself every day, getting 1% better. It's just what I do as a coach. And if I definitely, practice what I preach, I don't just tell people, hey, do this, but it's a struggle. It's hard for people, it's very hard, but it is doable. And that's what I want them to understand is like, it's very doable and I'm not going to come at them all at once with this information. That's not what coaches do.
Well, I think the important thing for people that are coming to you is to see You're always learning. We're always growing. We all have some of the same struggles. So don't be so hard on yourself. Just start the process. And I would think that if I'm the client that came in and said, I need to lose 20 pounds, once you start talking to them and they've made the changes, I'm guessing the weight drops off as well. And so, and that's the reward that you feel like you've accomplished something when you see a number, I think sometimes.
Yep.
But if you can relate that to, I also feel so much better, it's truly a win. And then you'll want to stay on that path. Even though we all fall off the wagon and we may have that bag of Doritos, it would be Cheez-Its for me, but you know, then I'm going to get back on board. I love Cheez-Its, but I try to limit them because they've got all of those words you just talked about that I'll never be able to pronounce, but I know it's horrible. So I'm going to limit that when I see my girlfriends and I have my wine and my Cheez-Its. And then Monday I'm back with my protein, my water. I'm doing back in my hot yoga. So don't beat yourself up, I think is the message.
Yes.
But that you can do it.
Yeah.
Because you are doing it.
Exactly. And it's a lot of, I tell them all the time, it's progress over perfection. And, you know, have some grace for yourself. You know, I'm a big advocate about teaching them about balance because I didn't have that balance. Or I didn't know that balance. That's why I became a health coach, you know? So I encourage them to go have a meal that they want. And I don't say cheat meals. I don't agree with that. I say it might be less unnourishing. You're not, you know, than a nourishment. But here's the thing. If you could do that and have that one slice of pizza, if you wanted one every 5 weeks, say, or a burger with French fries, that is not what's going to affect your health. What's going to affect your health is if you did that every single week. Or every other day. That is what is going to affect your health. What you do consistently was what matters. So if you're putting in these really incredible steps, you know, in your nutrition, then that's all you need to do. And if you feel like, because they'll be like, oh my God, I'm going out with my girlfriends, you know, what do I do? I've been doing this for 30 days. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. If you want to have that simple thing, whatever it is, then go for it. But know that Monday you're able to get back on it. That's how it works. Or if you don't want to have it, that's fine too. Just pick the most nourishing thing on the menu or the thing that you like a grilled piece of fish and a salad, and you won't be going off of it. If you have one drink, give yourself some grace and say, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore for I don't know how long. And I think that's the importance of it because people think, well, if I do this, I'm never going to be able to have that one thing I like. No, that's not what it's about. You know, it's about finding that balance with you, but knowing how to stay on track most of the time consistently. And that's what I tell people is like 99.9% of the time, I can tell you all the clients I've had, not one person has gone back to the yo-yo dieting.
It's great.
Amazing.
They haven't gone back because they've learned how to nourish their body. They learn their why. They learn the importance of why they're doing this and that they can have a life and not eat tree bark, you know, like it's not going to be boring, you know, and they've learned that they can make things, you know, that are super easy, but yet for the whole family. And, you know, and it usually stems from the mom, which I love. And then it trickles down to the kids, you know, the whole family's doing it, which I love seeing it.
Yeah. That's amazing to hear that not one of your clients goes back to the yo-yo diet. It's a testament to a true mindset, lifestyle change and a change in motivation.
Yes.
Change in motivation, not I want to be skinny or thin or my size 2 or whatever. It's I want to feel full, live abundantly, have energy. And, you know, it goes back to just looking at the quality of what we're doing and eating and enjoying it for what it's supposed to do, nourishing mind, body, and soul. That's amazing, Allison.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we do a lot of things, you know, in terms of like, I always ask them who they want to be. Like, who do you see yourself in, you know, maybe they could be they're 50 years old now. And I'm like, at 60, what do you see for yourself? Do you see yourself like running with grandchildren? You know, I think visualization is key to a lot of goals, you know, like anything else, you know, what you believe is what you achieve. So I'm like, if you can envision yourself as a grandmother, what do you see? And they're like, oh, I want to be running with them. I want to be in the monkey bars with my grandchildren, or just that vibrant, you know, grandmother that could go to the pool and hang out with them. I'm like, well, if you envision that self, what do you think you need to do? The steps we need to take from here on forward. And they know, because once they get coached for those 12 weeks, they're like ready. They have their why, they have their discipline. They feel great about it. And honestly, like I said, all the clients I've coached, and not one, even from 7-8 years ago, has not reverted back to the yo-yo dieting. And I think because of the habit shifts and just the mentality of them switching the mindset.
And it's important to add that you have niched down to work with women in perimenopause and menopause, because they're not necessarily looking just to lose weight. They're wanting to understand what's going on with their hormones and how you can help them. So that is so incredibly important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just to have energy back and feel good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, change. Allison.
Yeah, this has been great. This has really been great.
I really enjoyed it. I think, a lot of good information for people. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, how can people find you?
So they can find me on Facebook. I am Living My Best Life Coaching. And then Instagram, Living My Best Life Coaching. On Facebook, it's just Allison Pavone. I do a lot on Living My Best Life Coaching. They can find me through there. Or my email is lmblcoaching@gmail.com. They can email me if they'd like, and set anything up. I can speak to them about, whether they're looking for just a supermarket spree or they're looking for coaching for the 12-week program, things like that. They can find me either way.
We'll put all that in the show notes too. Yes. So anyone driving, stop trying to take notes at the same time. Don't do that.
Right. For sure.
You can go to the show notes in a little while. Nikki,
it's time for your question. I know it. What is it?
Allison, you mentioned 1% improvement earlier. What is the one thing that we can implement into our day today to experience just 1% improvement in our health and wellness journey?
Okay. One thing I would say, if it comes to, I'm going to say sleep, because I feel like we talked about that and that's a big thing. Start just with baby steps, putting your phone down like an hour before bed, not looking at any Blu-ray light. Taking a walk after dinner is a really big thing for circadian rhythm, and just getting the sunlight in your face. Plus it helps with digestion and insulin control. So instead of the sugar just kind of sitting after you eat, it's getting spread through the muscles. So you can actually build muscle while you're walking. Isn't that amazing? Just from the input of food that you put in your body and walking. And then, not watching any TV like an hour before bed as well. And just, taking that, breathing exercises. So that way people can really, because I feel like sleep is a really big part of health and people are not doing it. I think that would totally help people just kind of, especially through menopause, fall into that kind of, just self-care and get them to bed early where they'll just go to sleep. And if they do that consistently over time, you'll be sleeping better for sure, and eating dinner at least 3 hours before bed.
That is fantastic. Thank you for the reminder to get moving after dinner. Go for a walk. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I walk every day after dinner, every day. Yeah, without fail, like it's my thing. Plus, it's a great mental space. It really is good. Like I do a lot of listening to podcasts then, but also just enjoying the air and seeing the sunset. It's really, it's very zenning.
It's great advice. Great advice. Yeah. For sure. This has just been wonderful. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks, Allison.
All right. Have a good day.
Hi, friends. Please leave us a 5-star review and let us know what you thought of today's episode. Share it with someone who needs a little inspiration and tell them why they should tune in to Elevate, your go-to resource for healthy living here in the Green Strand.
Each week, we're cultivating conversations that inspire well-being, support the ebb and flow of coastal living, and help elevate our community's wellness journey.
Don't forget to join our newsletter, a culinary garden of resources, including our downloadable Wellness Made Simple with curated tips from our local wellness experts. You can click on the link in show notes to subscribe.
And of course, stay connected with us on YouTube at Elevate Health Grand Strand and on Instagram and Facebook. You'll find those links in the show notes. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. The information provided in the Elevate podcast and associated materials is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. No content should be considered a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment. Reliance on any information provided by Elevate, its host, guest, or contributors is solely at your own risk. We encourage you to consult with a healthcare professional before making any significant changes to your diet, exercise, or wellness routine. Ultimately, your health and well-being are unique to you, and it's important to make informed decisions based on your individual needs.